Thursday, March 19th, 07:37 a.m. New York time. Welcome back, investors, to Wall Street Money. Wall Street's money. Let's talk about and recap current situation. Yesterday, the Federal Reserve FOMC meeting occurred. They left rates unchanged. They also had a press release following that and gave their research statement public, current situation, the U.S. economy, and going forward. United States is at war with a nation that's big production of oil, crude oil, as well as the nations around there in the Persian Gulf. Has an impact on the fossil fuels, crude oil, and natural gas. Yesterday, the United States debt, first time ever, broke above $39 trillion. Commodities, such as the fossil fuels, are priced in US dollars. So we're going to discuss currencies, the situation of currencies, the US dollar index. US dollar is considered one of the safe haven currencies. You could do dollar cost average, investing in the dollar if you're bullish, as well if you're bearish. Yep, companies out there manage stock funds of the currency. The top one is the bullish stock index fund of the US dollar, and the bottom one is the bearish. The symbols are in the parentheses. So the top one, UUP, and the bottom one, UDN. They manage the fund with purchasing the derivatives in the futures market. So again, the dollar stock ETF, the bullish one, UUP, closed yesterday, $27.85, and the bearish one closed $17.95. Opportunities. So if you don't want to trade in the options market, futures market, or the individual currencies, here you go. You can also trade individual currencies against the US dollar. Opportunities, dollar cost average investing. Right now, I'm going to go over the US dollar index, top down, show the current situation. The current situation is this month, we're already halfway through the month, closer to the end of the month. This is a 20-year chart, US dollar index. All the way bottom left, look at that, 2009. That was a low for the past 20 years. Also the first term of that president that was back there. And here we are now, 2026. The current month, new high for the year. New high for the year. Also broke above that swing point, that blue horizontal line, key level. This candle's not done yet till the last trading day of the month. But we made a reversal off an inside candle, that yellow candle. Now we're looking at a 5-year chart weekly. Again, this is the futures market of the US dollar index. See this yellow horizontal line here on the left? That was the low of 2022. And the top, the high of 2022. Huge trading range. So the situation here is, again, the low of 2022. Pay attention, the high of 2022. We are inside that range. Yep, 2023, 2025, 2026, we're inside the range of 2022. But there's a lot of volatility inside that range. That was a huge trading range. And then here, almost over 2 years, we were in a consolidation. And then, look at that, the pump up, the reversal, consolidation. So pretty much here, zoom in. Currently for the week, it's inside candle. Again, my yellow candles I have programmed as inside. Simply means didn't take out the high or low of the prior candle. all that volatility that's happening this week, like I said, the U.S. debt broke above, first time ever, $39 trillion, sorry, $39 trillion. Let me get that straight. $39 trillion yesterday, record high. And the Fed leaving the rates unchanged as well yesterday. Stock indexes, the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial Average, 30 companies, both made new lows for the year. But the point here is, all that occurring, the dollar index for the week still inside the range. Interesting. Inside candles means several things. That means indecision, potential reversal. So since we're at the top of the trend here, potential reversal for the downside. Again, if you're bearish, I just showed you the stock ETF. And if you're bullish, you have access to the bullish stock ETF. The daily chart. Here's the low for the year. Here's the current situation. Been making lower highs the past few days. Big trading range, huge volatility. So you can see here, see these gray boxes. Consolidation, staircase pattern, higher high. We take it intraday. This is the 4-hour. I'm going to actually put it for past 10 days. There we go. Past 10 days. Intraday, 4-hour charts again. So this last week, right here, this area, Friday, before the weekend, we had Friday, ran up to that high. Then Sunday evening when the futures market is open, huge sell-off. Continuing Monday sell-off, continuing Tuesday sell-off, coming into this key level right here. Again, this was a consolidation. This was the breakout above it. So look what happened. We ran up. We did a retracement. What I'm showing you is candlestick technical analysis charting. So it came down to an imbalance area where you had two candles that did not overlap nor touched. That green one was the middle one. We went into that, did a huge consolidation yesterday. Before the Fed came out with their statement, we did a reversal yesterday afternoon during that event. Continue making higher high, higher low. And after the Fed came out with their statement and voting on the FMC, look at that big 4-hour strong green candle, which took out all this day. And now we're here in consolidation phase. But we're still inside this, again, see this red horizontal line and this green horizontal line. We're still inside this tight consolidation. And today's Thursday. So tomorrow, being Friday, when the futures markets will close, the end of trading day tomorrow, we could have that reversal. Got it? Well, I'm going to show you now several currencies inside the US dollar index. So you'll be more situational awareness of what currencies are actually leadership, which ones are actually performing better. Because again, the US dollar index comprises several currencies. They have a different weighted average and an impact, keyword impact, on the US dollar performance. There's also several other currencies that are considered safe haven. Japanese yen, Swiss franc. Doesn't mean they all simultaneously perform equally, which you'll see here momentarily. So we're going to go to the 10-year charts monthly. First, we're looking at the euro. Yes, prices are moving because the futures markets are open. So look at the euro here. High 2018, the low of 2022. And currently, this month, new low for the year. Japanese yen. Actually, I want to open this longer duration for 20 years. Yeah, so the Japanese yen, here's the high, 2011. Two years ago, made that new low for the 20 years down here. That's the Japanese yen. This year, this month, new low for the year, very close to the low of 2024. If you don't know, scheduled public information, Prime Minister of Japan, the new one that got voted in, the one that's currently in a line with the US president this week in Washington, D.C., meeting with the president of the United States to discuss the tariffs between the two countries and the international domestic threat to Japan and the United States. Militarily and economically, China. Public information out of the White House. You go straight to the website and read all the schedule information and when the discussions going to be taking place or taking place. So Japanese yen, if you're not situation aware, is the second largest currency in the US dollar index, the first being the euro. Weaker dollar, their products for exporting are more affordable. Sorry, weaker yen, weaker Japanese yen currency is more affordable for people to purchase their products for them to export. Well, weaker yen also costs Japan more to import products. Japan is heavily dependent on fossil fuels. Yes, Japan has nuclear power plants, but they also import for their vehicles, for their domestic production. They import crude oil. So we have crude oil at record highs, Japanese yen near record lows. Yeah, that's a huge impact on their economy. It's a bad impact, hurting them a lot. British pound, the third largest currency in the US dollar index, new low for the year. And you notice several of these, I'm showing you those yellow candles, we broke the inside candles. Again, look at this. That was a low of last year, the British pound. Consolidation, building energy for a breakout. That breakout could go either up or down. Key levels right here. The high of this year and this swing point here. Which I'll label right now. So big difference. The British pound has been trending up, giving strength to the British pound against the dollar, which I showed you the makes and pace the Japanese yen, the inverse. So again, the British pound has been gaining strength. When the British pound goes higher, that's weaker dollar. So again, let's look here. Japanese yen, down here. The euro, an acceleration up here. So you have two European currencies I just showed you, working their way, grinding up to the upside. Australian dollar. This month, new high for the year. Australian dollar also took out the high of 2023. The nation of Australia is a huge commodity-based country. Metals, energy, and just think. We know metals, gold, energy, crude oil, are near record highs. So stronger price of commodities for a country that produces commodities helps their currency be stronger. So if you expect the prices of crude oil, gold, silver, copper to continue going higher, that has an impact on the Australian dollar going higher. Again, I showed you here, new high for the year. Opportunities to do investing in currencies. I say that because you don't have to just invest in company stocks, where most financial institutions, most people with their 401k, their IRA, their mutual fund, choose to go with a company that only offers them stocks on companies. That's not diversification. You don't even have to be invested in any company stock. You could be diversified in currencies or commodities. There's more than just company stocks to be available to invest in. Again, we see several currencies leading Canadian dollar, another country's currency that has a heavy correlation to commodities. They have many metal minings and fossil fuels. Yep. So here's the high of the year, 2026. Here's the low of the year. In a huge consolidation off the lows of last year. Yep. So again, big difference. You have these major currencies. Now this is our neighbor to the north. But again, since the last year, it's been grinding up. Swiss franc, that little nation of Switzerland. It's considered a safe haven currency. Here's the low of 2022. And look, the first month of this year was high of the year. Big red month here, but it's still inside the range of this year, coming off these lows. Again, I mentioned the Japanese yen is the second largest weighted currency in the US dollar. That's one of the reasons the US dollar is up so big. Because again, it's not weighted equally in each of these currencies. So if that Japanese yen changes and go higher, as these other ones do, that would weaken the dollar. Our neighbor to the south, Mexico. Look at this. Here's the low of last year. Here we are now. Actually, let me update this. Last month was the high of the year. So we have the Mexican peso from last year coming off the lows, trending up. Two currencies are neighbors. Their currencies are gaining strength. And this is the currency for China, the Chinese yuan. Similar to the Japanese yen. They've both been trending down. Well, that's easy to be misled. I'm showing you the Chinese yuan against the US dollar on another currency exchange. This currency exchange is the Forex exchange. If you don't know what the Forex is, it's an exchange, financial exchange that only trades currencies. The symbols are different. Again, the other currencies I was showing you trade on the futures market. There's different exchanges for different financial instruments. This being the Chinese yuan, how this plays out is the first three letters represent the US dollar. The second three letters represent the Chinese yuan. So when this trends down, that's weaker dollar, bullish the Chinese yuan. I say this because there was a financial media outlet, one of the mainstream ones in the United States, that put misinformation out. Yep. They just showed the price of the Chinese yuan, not explaining that when this price is declining, it's giving strength to this dollar. Sorry, it's giving strength to the Chinese yuan. Yep. Misled their fan base. Yep. Another shameless mainstream media. And it was a business channel. So here's the high of last year. So it's been declining. The US dollar has been declining, giving strength to the Chinese yuan. United States imports, we know from Mexico, Canada, our two largest trading partners, and China we import from. So when the US dollar starts declining, we're paying more for imports. Several ways, including tariffs. So current month here, inside candle. And crypto Bitcoin. Here's the high of last year. Here's the high of this year. It's trending down. That's the current situation. But I want to make it a little bit more understandable for distribution. If you're not familiar with what that means, take it to an intraday, take it to a weekly. So we can see if there's distribution, accumulation, or vesting, dollar cost average. 5-year chart, each candle's a week. Let's look at the current situation on the euro. It's Thursday again. Look at the euro here, inside candle, the bottom of a trend, potential reversal. Japanese yen, weekly charts, huge consolidation, inside candle, potential reversal. British pound, Yep. Last week was the low of the year. Right now, inside candle. So the point is, see all these inside candles on the weekly? Already halfway through the week. Huge economic information came out. I already told you yesterday, U.S. debt broke above $39 trillion. The Federal Reserve FOMC meeting left the rate unchanged. Australian dollar, inside candle. Neighbors to the north, Canadian dollar, broke the low of last week. Huge consolidation. Swiss franc also broke the low of last week, right inside a demand zone. And neighbors to the south, Mexican peso, inside candle for the week, near the lows, potential reversal. Chinese yuan, inside candle. So the current situation is, again, a lot of these monthly candles, weekly candles, inside candles. I mentioned it means indecision. Right now, we're at sweep points for setups. And a breakout of those inside candles from the prior candle could be interpreted as a single or trade. Let's finish this off with not a currency, but we'll look at the crypto, Bitcoin. Here's the high of the year. Here's the low of the year. We broke above the high of that prior inside candle. Huge consolidation on the downward trend. So as we're approaching 8 o'clock a.m., which would be in 1 hour, gonna leave this over here. These currencies have stock ETFs. I showed you 2 of them, bullish and bearish for the US dollar index. You could do dollar cost average. I explain that very well in many of my videos. You could be having outperforming the regular stock indexes and the single companies. Thank you as always, spending just a little time with me. That's it for the video. Thank you for watching.